Welcome. Today is Monday, March 4th. T.O., can I get a T.O.? We start the show with our best interview ever with Tim Ottoman, CMU Chippewa, gambling expert and avid golfer. We feature batch 1500 from our friends at Arbor Brewing Company, Bryce Harper, college basketball, and our top 6 movie comedies. Let's go.
3, 2, 1.
This is the Matt Muse Show with Matt Hensler and Adam Musinski.
The Eagle has landed.
It finally happened to me.
Well, what was that?
Friday, I was out playing with my dog, and I was running where I shouldn't have been running. I knew it was slippery, and it was me. You know, like Charlie Brown when he misses the football?
Yeah.
I assume that's what I looked like up in the air. My feet went out from underneath me, and I landed flat on my back. I couldn't breathe. I went and laid down. I was in pain. First time I fell all winter.
Do you feel better now that you have fallen and gotten back up?
You know, you think you would, but no, my back still hurts. Also, tomorrow is Fat Tuesday, which for you is just Tuesday.
So we're talking about overweight or something like that, and Matt's like, "Oh, I got something great that I gotta tell you, but I gotta wait, so I'm gonna have to write it down." So he writes it down, and that's what it was. Hey, I'm Polish. Punchki Day, baby. All about that punchki. Now he thinks he's like hot shit.
I'm so funny.
Keep telling yourself that. So we got a lot to get into today. We're gonna get done with your banter. Question of the podcast. We asked, what do you put on a toothbrush first, water or toothpaste? And this question is brought to you by Colgate toothbrushes. You can get 12 Colgate Premier Extra Clean toothbrushes for only $6.43. Go to the link in the episode description to get yours today. You can always go to mattmuse.com, click on featured products, and see all of our featured products.
Those are the best priced toothbrushes I have ever seen in my life.
It's like 53 cents a toothbrush. Can't go wrong. So, anyways, poll results up to date. We will continue to update it as we go.
And the results are in.
Toothpaste, 9 votes. Water, 15 votes.
Tell you what, all you crazy people out there that put toothpaste on your toothbrush before you put water in your toothbrush, you're insane. Because what you're doing effectively is washing off the toothpaste from your toothbrush, which does you no good in cleaning your teeth, which is the purpose of said toothpaste and toothbrush. Water first, and if you don't do water first, you may be a serial killer. That's my stance. Nothing to add?
On the line, we got Tim Ottoman, native Mount Pleasant resident, CMU grad, recreation, parks, and leisure professor at CMU, CMU Gus Macker organizer and professor, and an internationally recognized expert on sports gambling. How are you doing?
Wow, I sound really impressive.
You do. I was writing it, and I was like, there's no way this guy has this much done, but he does.
Well, I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to talk.
Happy to have you. All right, so as a devout CMU Chippewa fan myself, I know you hold a special place in your heart for the Chippewas of Central. What are your thoughts on the men's and women's basketball programs heading into the conference tournaments in a couple weeks?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been a lot of fun to watch them. Both teams play up and down the floor. They're really fun to watch because it's not one person taking over. I mean, on the guy side, you got 4 people or 5 actually, I think now, that are averaging in double figures. 4 of them average more than 5 rebounds a game. They just won a game on the road at Ball State where their second leading scorer left the game after 13 minutes, and their fourth leading scorer didn't score a point and still won the game on the road in the conference. So they've really battled to an 8-6 record in the conference and have 3 left to go. Currently 4th overall, which will put them in a spot that they have a chance to bypass hosting a game and go right to Cleveland. And the ladies are cruising. They're 20-6, and 11-3 in the conference. They're first in the West by 3 games, and they got 4 left, 2 on the road and 2 at home. And man, they got 2 superstars that are really leading them in Presley Hudson and Raina Frost that are, the 2 cogs that really make that machine go. But Twin Kelly and Carol Bussell and Jahari Smith as a freshman and Maddie Waters, they're a formidable team. And as you guys know, they made a Sweet 16 run last year. And,
Exactly.
Those 2 teams they're a lot of fun. And if you get a chance here in the next couple of home games, as we move from the cold, forever lasting February into March, it's going to be really fun and a lot of fun in McGurk Arena to take a look at them.
For sure. And congrats to Presley Hudson, who earlier this year became the CMU all-time leader scorer for both men's and women's basketball programs. And she also holds the leader in assists and three-pointers made at Central. So it's definitely both impressive teams. And, yeah, exciting here coming down the stretch for CMU basketball.
Yeah, it's neat. She's a gym rat. She is the walking, talking definition of a gym rat. She is in there nonstop. But one of the really cool things I think about her is the time that she spends in, but also the time that she spends in the community. She's one of the most humble people I know, and again, with her along with Raina have just made a huge impact upon our program. My gut feel is they're going to go into the Hall of Fame at the same time. They've been on the court about the same amount of minutes. Mm-hmm. It'll be neat to see, but it's also neat to see. I sent her a picture when she broke the record. Somebody had sent me a photo of her playing in a Gus Macker in Ludington. She looks like she's about 6 years old, and she broke the record of somebody else that's also in the Gus Macker Hall of Fame. And I know we're going to get a chance to talk Gus Macker in a minute, but Melvin McLaughlin broke that record a while back and has held it for a really long time and had the record without the three-pointer. But Presley is a super, super impressive basketball player, but even more impressive as a person, as a student here at Central.
All right, so we're going to change gears a little bit here. What's your thoughts on Jim McElwain being hired as CMU's football coach?
Coach Mack, I think, is going to change the culture around here a little bit. It was interesting to see when he first got here. He came with some pedigree. He's been the SEC Coach of the Year. He was the Coach of the Year in the Mountain West. He's been at Alabama. He's been at Michigan. He's been at Louisville. He's been at Michigan State. He's been in the NFL with the Raiders. And I obviously, was really successful at Florida. Mm-hmm. But even in this press conference, somebody said, hey, well, how was the first team meeting? And he said, well, they learned a lot of things. And it was kind of shocking to the people that were there. And he said they had to learn how to sit up and pay attention and look people in the eye. And so I think discipline is one of the things you're going to see a major part of. And I think we had some issues this year with untimely penalties and not being ready to play in some of those instances. So I think that's going to change. And it really hit home for me as they introduced him at his first basketball game. And he came out to say a few words. And all the players sat down in one end of the end zone. The student section end zone in McGurk. And as he came out, they all came out of the stands to kind of surround him. And as they exited the stands, they all took their hats off. And I went, there's been a changing of the guard here. And so I think it's going to be interesting to watch how he changes the offense and defense around. As you know, you inherit the players here. But I think they made some major strides on the recruiting trail. And seems like the quality of players has been ramped up a little bit, and we're excited to see what happens.
Yeah, and it seems like the team's responding very positively and supporting and respecting their coach, which is something that is key to any successful football program.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, it starts when we don't see them, right? It starts in the weight room. It starts with how you're doing in the classroom. It starts how you're being respected by your other teammates and your coaches and how you work around that building. And so I think that change happened immediately. And all the words I hear from, all the places that I'm at on campus is he's making some pretty major inroads pretty quickly. And we're excited to see it all take place. Spring game's coming up pretty quickly. It doesn't feel like it outside right now, but right. It's right around the corner.
That's all great to hear because what I hear from Central Michigan football, I hear from Adam, and he's, 30 miles away now, sort of outside looking in. So having somebody at the college giving us sort of an inside track, saying all these great things are happening, sort of brings me to my next question here. Will we see an improvement this next football season over last?
Well, unfortunately, the math doesn't make it very hard to make the improvement. When you're 1-11, there's only to go up. But I don't think it's, hey, let's go 3-9. I don't feel that vibe at all around here. I think we're going to see some major improvement pretty quickly. Obviously, a pretty tough non-conference schedule as we play some of the big boys before we get into our conference season. But I think they're going to be better. I think they're going to be more talented. And I think some of those players who got a chance to play with the new redshirt rule last year are really going to be ready to go. It's interesting now with college football that, once you can play in 4 games. And so once the season had kind of got away from us last year, we were able to get some people in and get them some minutes, actual live game minutes, that I think will make them even more prepared for this upcoming year.
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned earlier, you are the head professor for CMU's Gus Macker program. How did that relationship start between Gus Macker and Central, and how has it benefited each party?
It seems like I tell this story a lot, but it's one of my favorite stories. I played back in the day, literally, as I'm doing air quotes here in my office. I think I played late 1970s, early 1980s as a 12, 13, 14-year-old with my buddies in Gus Macker when it was back in Lowell. And so I've always had that affinity with Gus Macker. And Tom Crean, as an example, used to take CMU players down there. He coached the CMU guys. That's how involved we were in little teeny tiny Mount Pleasant. And back then they had lots of college players. The NCAA didn't have regulations. And so it was kind of the place to play in the summertime. And then in 2009, Macker came back here on campus, and they were looking for some students to be basically scorekeepers and timers on their courts. And I was kind of tabbed to help them do that. And it was funny. It was in July. And the first day was about 65 degrees and the sun was out and it was great. And the next day it snowed and it was August. And I had a snowmobile suit on, but it was kind of like a Santa Claus suit with a hat on because I'm kind of goofy, and reconnected with Scott McNeil, who is Gus Macker, the founding father. And he said, Teal, my dream's always been to put one of these on, but have it completely run by college students. And I go, okay, let's go. And he kind of looked at me like, really? And so we did a special topics course the first year and kind of worked our way through the bugs. But it's a fully we went through the complete curricular process here at CMU. It's a class, RPL 333, the production of festivals and events. And this will be our 10th year running a Gus Macker completely with undergraduate students. Only place in the 46-year history of Gus Macker to ever do it that way. And it's obviously a passion of mine because I've been involved for a long time, but it's been a really cool experience for the students to get not only exposure to a national festival, but hands-on real-life experience in running it.
Yeah, it sounds like a very unique relationship. What is the specific details about how this tournament being ran by students and benefiting the students more towards one of the tournaments, in Ludington, or do we see them, throughout the United States? What's the differences between those two?
I think the difference, first of all, is Scott gives us a whole bunch of rope. And sometimes I think he does it just to see if I'm going to hang myself or not. But I think what he allows us to do, for example, we get to theme our event every year. And this year it's a Dr. Seuss theme. We've had a Willy Wonka theme. We've had a Gus Goes Green theme, leaving a smaller carbon footprint. We did surfing the streets. And so I think we get a vibe that's kind of fun that way. We're the only major Gus Macker to do a launch party, and ours was last week, where we use it as a fundraising arm of our event, but we also use it to say, hey, registration is now open. We do an opening ceremonies that is tied to our theme, but has a dance, and all the participants of our class are involved in that dance. We have the president of the university shoot our do or die shot to officially open the event, and this will be our second president. President Davies will do it this year. President Ross did a few years ago. Chris Kaman, who played here and played in the NBA, did it last year. So cool. I think we get lots of those cool things, but the students really are involved in selling court sponsorships and running the courts and doing the hospitality and feeding volunteers and dealing with closing of city streets and risk management programs. And it really is their baby. The final exam really is the running of the event, and we'll have somewhere probably between 260 and 300 teams in Mount Pleasant. We're the first outdoor Michigan Macker of the year, so it's always a little bit We're a little hesitant because of weather, but knock on wood, we've always been pretty successful in being able to pull it off.
So this is way more than just a basketball tournament for you guys. This is absolutely amazing the way you're describing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is a basketball tournament. We call it a basketball festival, I think, but it is, it's a hands-on learning experience for these 34 students who were chosen. We'll have annually 80 to 100 students apply to be in the class. They get chosen by myself and some graduate or some TAs to be picked, not only to be in the class, but in a specific job. For example, you might be a recreation event management major, but a public relations minor, and you become somebody who works on our main stage doing public address. Mm-hmm. But you also may be somebody who's dealing with the setting up of the retail tent where we sell Threads by Gus merchandise. You might handle registration. You might run opening ceremonies. You might run the launch party. You might do all the hospitality for the food and beverage for the entire weekend. You might be a facility ops person that handles all the requests for equipment and supplies. So they really do get their hands on individually, but as a team. And again, this is our 10th year, and in the first 9 years, there's been 292 students that have had an experience here at CMU that they've never had anywhere else or couldn't have had anywhere else because Scott gave us, kind of the keys to the car and said, hey, I trust you and your students to be able to pull this off. And it's been, like say, a labor of love, but a really cool experience to build a relationship with those students who kind of go down that path with me.
That's outstanding. That's really cool.
Is registration still open? And if so, where can people go register to play?
Yeah, kicking off right now. The website kind of opens as the early teams, the early events go. They go to New Mexico first. Obviously, the weather's a little better there. But our event is April 27th and 28th.
Okay.
Registration will be opened. Our deadline is April 8th, and they just simply go to Macker.com. They'll see a tournament bar at the top. Click on that. Click on Mount Pleasant and hit register now, and it's that simple.
Awesome.
I wish we could play.
We can, but
you
die.
can play.
No. We're physically unable.
We could probably win the toilet bowl, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the cool things that Gus meant. Well, I tell Scott he's done two really cool things in his life, and that's it. There's only been two. One of them is he created a thing called Dream Court, and it is a fully operated, basically, arena where they bring in bleachers, they bring in a sport court and put it down. It's red, white, and blue. The entire thing is flagged. They announce the starting lineups. They do a live announcement of the game. They give out an MVP trophy, and it's usually the youth courts that play on those. There's nothing better than playing on Dream Court. Everybody gets a water bottle. He interviews the MVP, and it's really rejuvenated kind of the youth courts at Macker. But the other thing is that you have the ability to win a toilet bowl. And while Gus kind of created 3-on-3 basketball back in 1974 in his driveway, the toilet bowl is something that everybody now uses, but was kind of his baby, where instead of you lose your first two games and you're out of a double elimination tournament, anybody in your division that's lost those first two games has one more chance to compete for a title. And there's probably no more coveted trophy in Macker history than having a toilet bowl trophy. I'll tell you a funny story. Dean Pybus, who used to teach here in our department, taught recreation budgeting forever. He kind of willed things from his office in his last semester as he was retiring. And he walks down one day and he goes, "Okay, T.O., here's your gift." And I go, "Dean, I don't even want to turn around to see what it is." And I turned it around, and it was his toilet bowl trophy from 1986. And he said, "Only you need another toilet." So that's what he handed me.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that he gave you a toilet.
No, I agreed. I totally agree.
Awesome. All right, a little more serious now. As a former sports gambler, you have, in your years, turned into kind of an international expert. What's your opinion now of the legalization of sports gambling as it's starting to reach outside of Vegas and into states' hands to decide what their legislation wants to do with it?
It's just going to be interesting, gentlemen, to see how it all falls. As a sports gambling expert, and again, with air quotes here in my office, I was a sports gambler as a college student and learned a lot about the process kind of before the internet. And my doctoral dissertation was about sports gambling by college students. And so I was able to kind of tell the story of how people got involved, why they stayed involved, and kind of how the process happened. That process is all now going to be different as states are legalizing it slowly but surely. And so one of the things that I was able to tell as I told that story was not pro-gambling or anti-gambling, but the reality of the story. And I think what we're going to see now is going to be two really interesting changes. One is by having it legal, we have the ability to track nuances that happen related to the point spread. And any major gambling scandal that's ever happened in our country, we've kind of identified because the betting patterns went sideways, and therefore the attention got called to it, and then we kind of looked into it and found out what happened. Stephen Hideki Smith is probably the latest one at Arizona State. It's only because games abnormally started to get bet on while Arizona State was playing did we even find out it was happening. Now that we will know every game and what the nuances, I think that we'll have a better ability to track that. The second thing that hopefully is going to happen is with this income that's coming into the individual states is it's going to create income for that state to do hopefully some positive things. Here in Michigan, we hope they fix the roads.
Number one.
But number one should be on the list is, we got some pothole issues, at least here in Isabella County. But I think we hopefully have some money or will set some money aside for not only gambling treatment programs, but gambling prevention programs, just like we do with practicing safe sex or alcohol or drug use. If we don't use the monies that way, then I think we're not going down a very smart path. But the flip side of it is then it's kind of giving a governmental rubber stamp to say gambling's okay. And one of the downsides of gambling as an addictive behavior is it's a slippery slope. And, people have started to get involved in gambling. Most people who get involved in, at least on the sports side of gambling, do it by, hey, it's a $5 bracket for the NCAA tournament, or it's a $2 Super Bowl square, and it seems fairly harmless. Well, when the government rubber stamps it like they've rubber stamped the ability to buy a lottery ticket, then it kind of becomes a sanctioned activity, and will more people get involved with it because the opportunity simply presents itself, not being as something that happens in the back of a bar, but something that literally could happen by putting your dollars into an ATM type machine.
So, excuse me, you sort of brought something up that I didn't really think about. Is every year I put in $20 and do a basketball bracket, and it's me and a group of 10 buddies. We go in and do it. Down the road, I mean, in Michigan, if the sports gambling becomes legal, where does that put me? Am I now an illegal gambler? Is there any legal ramifications that may come with it?
Well, technically, right now you're a legal gambler. In the eyes of the law, you're a misdemeanor. And again, it's I tell this story as I do gambling presentations all over the country. You've just done the same thing as went jaywalking. Everybody does it. Nobody gets caught. There's no punishment. But I will say that everybody that I've talked to that's intimately involved and became a big-time sports gambler started gambling by doing a Super Bowl square or an NCAA tournament bracket. And I'll give you a good example from one of the presentations that I gave is I used to teach a sport history class. And I said, hey, how many people know the bookmaker that happens to live on campus? And they're all kind of looking at me like they don't know him. And I said, here's the deal, gang. I'll bet you 10 extra credit points that by asking 3 people, you will be able to find a bookmaker in 3 phone calls or 3 knocks on the door, however you want to do it. And this kid, I can't make this up because his name was actually Johnny. This is like a little Johnny story. But Johnny, who normally sat in the front row, kind of slunked into the back row in the next class period. And I said, Johnny, what's wrong, man? He goes, I'm not getting any extra credit points. And I go, well, you can still sit in the front. I'm not mad at you. He goes, yeah, but I didn't realize what was going to happen. And I go, well, what happened? Did you find somebody in 3 phone calls? He goes, no, I didn't take any phone calls. And I go, well, Johnny, then you didn't do the assignment. He said, it's my roommate.
Oh.
And so the example of that story is an example of another story where, a student of mine that I was paying attention to kind of turned me on to somebody else, and I got to hear his story. And as a sophomore in high school, his first bet was a $5 Super Bowl square. His senior year, he ran the Super Bowl squares, and also ran the NCAA tournament bracket in his high school. And he had 168 people fill out his tournament bracket at $10 a piece. So, $1,680. He completely faked the whole thing, put a fake name on it, and kept the money.
Oh,
Now, before the internet, before everybody could follow along what your
Right.
percentages were and, all those kind of things, this student eventually became a bookmaker on campus here at Central Michigan University. $20,000 a week he was bringing in.
holy cow!
All started because he filled out a Super Bowl square. Now, not everybody goes down that path, just like
Right.
everybody who takes a drink doesn't become an alcoholic. But I think the challenge is we're now governmentally sanctioning an activity that used to be illegal, and we really need to we just need to watch it and pay attention to it, provide some education of what's going on, and then provide some of those dollars that are going to be gathered, hopefully via these tax dollars that are going to help for again education, but also treatment programs.
That's a huge point there too. I mean, that's something that you don't think about is using this money to positively benefit the people that are suffering from where the money's coming from.
Exactly. Like yeah,
Yep.
you make one bet leads to two, leads to three. Okay, let's educate the public and educate our bettors to make sure that this is not becoming a habit. This is not getting them in financial trouble. To whereas they're on the street and they have people coming after them, looking for money and threatening to take their house. Because if it's legal, eventually that could be something that could happen. They could legally come and take your house, possibly. So
Exactly, and it's a little different. The good part of it is that you're going to have, in a legal scenario, you're going to have money to bet. If you go into a casino or you're going to go to however they're going to distribute the tickets, you put your money in, you make your bet, your ticket comes out. The challenge when it's an illegal activity is that you're dealing with an illegal bookmaker that normally operates on credit. And so, hey, we'll pay when you're $300 up, or we'll collect when you're $300 down. Well, suddenly now you're down and can't pay, and that's where things could get really dangerous. And so, having it be a pay up front situation will definitely help the process.
True.
exactly.
All right. Well, wrapping up here, one final question. One of our favorite questions asked on this show. If you could have a beer with one person, living or not, what would you drink, and who would it be with?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Now, I'm a beer fan, craft
Good,
beer
so are
fan, Mick Ultra fan, but I pondered this question in depth. And so here's what I would do. I first of all, it was going to be a golfer, and so it took a while to narrow it down, but I would have the drink with Jack Nicklaus, and it was kind of between him and Bobby Jones and Arnold Palmer. But because it's going to be golf, it would be Eden Mill Gin. They make they're a distillery that's about 1.5 miles from St. Andrews, and they actually make the gin from the flowers that are on the course, on the old course at St. Andrews. And so I would have a gin and tonic with Jack.
That is the most in-depth answer we've ever got for this question.
It's usually like Bush Light with my grandpa.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, appreciate the time, Tim.
No problem.
It's been good talking to you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good, guys. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I want to try some Eden Mill gin.
I wanted to just go to St. Andrews.
Well, that too, but I mean, if you're going that far, you might as well do both.
I don't know if I can afford both. I don't know if I can afford one.
Hey, we're making money,
Well,
right?
yeah.
That's what I tell you anyways.
So I'm still using a spiral notebook from college and a broken pen.
And a fantastic piece of a computer you have there, my good
Oh,
friend.
this computer it's a piece for sure. Well, that was wonderful. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about our Beer of the Podcast. We react to that interview, talk a little Bryce Harper, college basketball, and top 6 movie comedies.
That was easily the best interview we have ever done. Thank you so much, Tim Ottoman, for giving us that opportunity to talk to you.
That was a riot. It really was.
It was good. It was good conversation. It was fun. It was exciting. It's everything you would want in an interview.
And more.
And more. Exactly. And more.
I learned a lot.
Yeah, it was really cool. So, Tim, we'll just dive into this right now before we get to our beer real fast. Tim is a gambling expert. As you heard him talk, he is very involved in recreation. That's where he teaches at CMU. I went to school for recreation, and now I'm here saying we're doing a podcast. We know how that worked out. But he's very knowledgeable, and he's very experienced. And the things that he knows and his experience and the people he knows makes him a good person. Like, I could listen to him talk literally all day. Like, if he was ever like, hey, Adam, I want to come and record 8 hours worth of questions for you and chop them up and use them how you want it, I'd be like, sweet. Let me grab some popcorn and we'll make this happen.
Popcorn. You went with popcorn there?
Let's grab some beers and make this happen.
No, I'm not saying you have to get beers, but popcorn? I mean, you could have went like, I don't know.
Tacos?
Tacos. Just a whole bunch of tacos.
I know how you like your tacos,
I
man.
love tacos. I'm a taco fan. I keep seeing this thing on Facebook and stuff where, oh, cool trick. Eat a hard shell taco over a small soft shell taco shell, and boom, instant extra taco. I've yet to try this, but I think it'd be a really good idea to try.
It's like basic taco eating experience. If you have not done that yet, are you really a taco
But here's
eater?
the thing: I don't go buy hard shell tacos.
So,
I am a soft shell fan.
I like soft shell, but I switch it up every once in a while.
Hard
I'll
shells,
double decker them.
they hurt my fragile little mouth.
My
Very, very delicate mouth, I guess. I just don't like hard shells. You get hard shells, like greasy meat, and they turn mushy and chewy, and it's like taco-flavored gum.
If you eat them fast enough, like, how slow do you eat a taco?
Oh, it's gone in like 3 bites.
It will not get soggy in that time frame.
You're right. I'm just not a hard shell taco person.
Anyways,
On a hard shell taco, I would break it up and put the toppings on top and make nachos.
there you go. Teach his own. I like hard shell tacos. You know, that'd be a great question on the podcast.
It would be.
Hard shell or soft shell? I'll put that in there so I don't forget about this. Hard or soft shell? All right, so Tim out of interview is really cool. Hearing him talk about Central and their Gus Macker relationship, sports gambling, obviously, wanting to go over to Edenville or drink Edenville gin over in the old course. Very cool experience, and I'm glad he thought that through because, like we were saying in the interview, is we get a lot of people that just go, bush sled my grandpa.
Which don't get me wrong, I'd love to have a bush.
Yeah,
sled with
exactly.
grandpa.
Oh yeah, me too. But it was nice that he put the thought into it, like made that connection. Like I guess I never would have thought that hard about it, but it gives me.
That's why he's got a doctorate's degree, and we are sitting in your basement.
Exactly.
Also, hard or soft shell also could apply to turtles.
Are there soft shell turtles?
There are soft shell turtles.
I did not know that. Look, we're learning stuff. We are educating the people.
I mean, I didn't learn. I already knew that. But you learned. And I'm happy for you. Soft shell turtles are much more aerodynamic. I guess water dynamic.
All right, why don't you crack open that beer and stop talking? Today's beer of the podcast. Arbor Brewing, batch 1500. We actually just got this from our good friend Jake over at Arbor.
Hey,
Hope you guys don't confuse that with Jake from Perrin, because Jake's not at Perrin anymore. So we have Jake from Arbor. We always need a Jake, and we always has to work for a brewery. So
And they're different Jakes.
they are legitimately.
Jake from Parent did not go to Arbor.
No, he went to the competition.
Dun, dun, dun.
They actually just kind of went to do what we do.
Sit in
you
the
do.
basement and drink beer.
Oh, he did that before. Batch 1500 just got released from the brewery. Hit distribution draft only. 8.75%, 65 IBUs. This is a double New England style IPA. Matt, you need to go do a bartending class again because your pores are foamy.
Mine's perfect.
Cheers, homie. I guess I don't know where the beer starts. Hopefully, like, right here. That's my goal.
Just drink it really fast.
Not bad. Okay, a little much foam for my liking, but I'll take it. Take it.
You know, a good glass of beer is going to have a good inch of foam on it. Just letting you know. Maybe inch and a half.
Yeah, no, I know.
Made me laugh.
I know. I just can't tell what that is. So we just wrapped up Flagship February. We know we just did a complete 180 and went into something that just got released and
Off the wall.
off the
odd,
wall,
weird,
different,
crazy.
and won't not everyone will be able to drink this at all. But I want to rehash Flagship February. Arbor's flagships, for those that don't know, maybe we should do this. We should talk a little more about the brewery too in general.
We should, absolutely.
Euchre, Strawberry Blonde, Buzzsaw. They do a rotating IPA series throughout the year. There's 12 or so releases that come out throughout the year on top of specialty items and stuff like that. But the flagships that we did for February were Oscar Blues Dale's Pale, Rochester Mills Milkshake Stout, and Fat Tire from New Belgium. I just want to... The flagships are difficult to sell in the market, and I understand that, but I just want everyone to respect what they are and what they do and what they represent. There's so many breweries out there with flagships that don't even hit distribution because the market is looking for something new every day. We always want the next best thing. When a brewery goes to launch a specific geographical area, if they're going into distribution, if they're smart, they won't just lead with our flagships from our pub, because then you're leading with beers that a lager, an amber, an IPA. A Michigan IPA is hard to sell in distribution against Two Hearted, just because Two Hearted's so big. So the smarter breweries are going into them and being like, okay, what should my lead horse be in this geographical region? What are they missing, or what do they not have a lot of? And picking those items. I was listening to a gentleman today, and I can't recall the brewery he's from, but he was in Maryland, and he was talking about launching Vermont and Maine, and he's like, the IPAs were so strong up there because we ended up going with a mango IPA just because there wasn't a lot up there, and it ended up working out for us. So it's something to think about, like, when you go to the breweries, don't always look for what's new and what's crazy and what's different. Pay homage to those traditional beers and the flagship beers, because those are honestly what got these guys started. Like, these brewers don't start brewing a triple IPA with mango and coffee. You got to start somewhere.
In all honesty, a lot of times when you go to these breweries, excuse me, or even try their beer, their mangoes, they're mangoes, they're delicious. Their ambers, their browns, their basic IPAs, even their lagers, those at a lot of times are their best beers. They are the beers they're most proud of. They're the beers that probably have won them the most awards. They're the beers that they, at the end of the day, they're like, you know what, drink my amber ale because I trust it, I know what it is, I can make it the same way every single time. But when you take that to the market, like you said, it gets so flooded with beer that amber ale gets lost in a mix between double IPAs and Belgian quads and lambic sours and all this other type of crap that's out there. Not that none of that beer is bad necessarily, but if you walk into a bar and you can choose between an amber ale that the recipe's been around for 25 years or this brand new 15% triple IPA, I'm going to try the triple IPA 9 times out of 10.
Right.
But when I'm overwhelmed by what I want, I'm happy to be able to go back to that easy drinking, that basic beer, that beer I trust, that beer that brought that brewery to the beer scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to have. So don't forget about the flagships as we're jumping into deliciousness. I have a funny story about an Arbor beer, actually.
Shoot.
Euchre Pilsner. So for those of you that don't live in the Midwest and have no idea what Euchre is, it is a card game that...
The best card game on the planet.
It is a great game, but think about it. From the outside looking in, if you're just watching people play Euchre, you're probably staring at them like, what in the hell are they doing? This makes zero sense. Why the jacks are sometimes high and sometimes not high? There's only half a deck. It's weird.
I have to rehash this when you're done.
So it's a really strange card game, but once you learn how to play it, it's a ton of fun. So I was bartending for a number of years at a local craft beer bar, and we had on Euchre Pilsner, which is one of my favorite Pilsners to come out of the state of Michigan. I'm a huge German beer fan and Czech Pilsner fan, and this sort of plays off those a little bit with its own Michigan twist, which is really nice. Anyway, I had these guys come up to the bar. It was like a Saturday, early Saturday afternoon, noon, 1 o'clock, something like that. And they were looking through my beer list, and the one gentleman says, I'll have an Usher. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, I'll have an Usher. And I said, which one are you looking at? He's like, number 26 or whatever. And I said, that's Euchre. He goes, what? I said, that's Euchre Pilsner. It's pronounced Euchre. He goes, what's a Euchre? I said, well, it's a card game. I tried to explain it to him. He goes, well, that doesn't make any sense. I said, you're not from the Midwest, are you? He goes, no, I'm from Georgia. I said, well, that makes all sorts of sense now. It's so funny how localized both that game is and the beer that's named after the game.
Oh, for sure.
Really funny.
For sure.
Usher. I'll have an Usher. I had no idea what the guy was talking about.
Usher. Yeah, so I was playing euchre with one of my best friends and his girlfriend. And she is from currently Miami, but she was born and raised like Puerto Rico. No, that's not right. I feel bad because I don't know off the top of my head. Anyways, somewhere in South America. Basically, so we started sitting there. We're like, we're going to play euchre. And she's like, what is this euchre? I don't know what you're talking about. And she's only been in the United States for so many years. I was like, we're going to teach you. It'll be fun. It'll be great. And we probably played 3 hands. I still don't think she has any idea, like 3 rounds, any idea what we were actually doing. Like, we were playing cards up all the time, which is fine. She had to learn. And yeah, it was just weird to see, like, for me, like, I learned from my parents when I was like 10, and now I know how to play it. I get the whole counting of the cards and everything.
It's like second nature. You know what's going to be played. If something hasn't been played yet, you knew somebody screwed up.
Right. So
that's funny. We went to Washington, D.C. in high school, and we played euchre on my friend's stomach in the airport because we didn't have a table, and he was sleeping on the floor. So we just played euchre on his stomach. Shane, if you're out there, buddy, that was a good time.
That is.
Then we played slapjack to wake him up.
Nice.
There's a lot of jacks.
Nice. That's hilarious.
It was basically just a game of hitting Shane in the stomach.
For sure. Something that's
Huh?
No, sorry, never mind. Something that's heating up is college basketball. College basketball is getting into the prime time part of the season, getting to the end of league play, going to end up hitting some tournaments. March Madness, obviously, Selection Sunday is St. Paddy's Day. Perfect, great. Until the last month or so, things have kind of been pretty steady and on pace, and now Michigan State has injuries and losing players left and right and losing games they shouldn't lose. Zion Williamson's blown out a shoe. So we're really seeing the madness come back into it before we really even get into the tournament, which is awesome to see. It's finally time to start paying attention and looking at the standings and who people are playing. We all know North Carolina and Duke play again this weekend. I'll be locked in on that for sure.
As does Michigan State.
Exactly. So there's a lot coming up. Pay attention. We are going to be hosting a bracket competition. We were just talking about it before the show. Iron out the details and let you know. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time.
College basketball is great. As you all may or may not know, I think the NBA is a garbage league filled with garbage people. College basketball, on the other hand, is very entertaining, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And these kids are out there playing for something. And all these ignorant people that say, oh, if Zion gets healthy, he shouldn't play for Duke anymore, get the hell out of here. He needs to keep playing. He wants to keep playing. He owes something at university. They're giving him an education, albeit a year of an education, and progressing him to get the NBA. He at least owes them enough to finish out the season, especially when they have a legitimate chance to win the national championship. He's still hurt. I don't know how hurt he actually is or if he's just sort of faking a little bit. But this college basketball season, the way it's winding down, is really, really exciting. There's coaches getting pissed off at referees and other teams. Tom Izzo's press conference after the loss over the weekend was hilarious. He sort of got into his own team a little bit, got into his players, and then defended his team, which was great to hear too.
It's Tom Izzo, man. Sometimes I think he talks so fast that he loses the train of thought and just circles back and then just starts just making lots of circles and no one's
yeah. So that was great to hear. This Michigan State game this weekend may end up not meaning anything because Purdue might still just win the Big Ten. That's what's great about college basketball, especially conferences, how the Big Ten structured this year. Really, anybody can beat anybody. And in football, you don't necessarily see that, and especially only playing your rivals once a year. And you've got your powerhouse teams in each conference, and you got your lackluster teams in each conference. For the most part, all the bigger, better basketball conferences this year, they're pretty good across the board. I mean, the top 25 has changed dozens of times in the last 3 weeks. I mean, it's been technically that's not accurate, but
Right. No, I get what you're saying, though. But yeah, it's shuffling up.
But
a
I mean,
lot.
if it changed after every single game,
It would be.
It'd be insane. I mean, there'd be people jumping in and out of that top 25 like crazy.
Yeah.
So it's great to see this type of competition coming in the tournament, especially the conference tournaments, and then leading into the NCAA tournament, which is an exciting time of year. People take off work, sit in bars, and get drunk.
Money.
We, however, will not be taking off work, sitting in bars, and getting drunk. We will be working like responsible human beings, and I am proud to do it.
I am 1 week away from resetting my vacation that week. It drives me nuts.
All right. For those of you out there that are interested in getting a vasectomy, there's a local clinic around us offering vasectomies at a discounted rate with a free pizza included the week before March Madness starts, giving you a 100% free pass to sit around and watch basketball and eat pizza for an entire weekend.
Sign me up after 2 kids. We've decided, along with March Madness basketball, it's again one of our favorite times of years. We're going to start supporting the Jimmy V Foundation now until the championship day, which is April 4th or some 5th, some weird like 8th. I can't remember, whatever that Monday is in April where the championship is. So if you go to our website, mattandmuse.com, you scroll to the very bottom, it'll say, join Matt and Muse in supporting the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer Research. Click below to donate now. Click the big old V on there. That'll take you to another page that says Matt and Muse for Jimmy V's page. Just give us a donation, man. We're just looking to raise some money, help them out. They do a lot of great stuff over there. We figure it's basketball time. Hey, you're going to put $10 into a bracket pool, put $10 to Jimmy V as well. So,
Correct.
correct.
If you don't know who Jimmy V is, read a book.
Go to the link. It'll tell you.
There we go. Go to the link. It'll tell you.
MattMuse.com, right in the bottom. You don't even have to go anywhere else.
Matt
It'll
Muse,
tell
your one-stop shop for everything you need in life. Even toothbrushes.
Toothbrushes, Doritos, and coffee mugs. What more do you need?
Nothing. That's all I need.
We'll add more next week because you'll need it then.
Yes, that's all you need.
Did you hear about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
I've heard of him, yeah.
Well, did you hear what he did?
I did. I did hear what he did. He, if I'm not mistaken, auctioned off all of his NBA memorabilia, most specifically his championship rings, because his thought was, why does he need to sit around his house looking at all these shiny things about things he did in life? Why can't he use the money raised from those things to help young children achieve greatness themselves?
Exactly. And in doing so, he raised $3 million almost, went right to his foundation. I just wanted to put out that we need more people like him in this world. And that's what kind of brought us to start doing this Jimmy V thing, is using our medium to try and make a difference somehow. Maybe a little bit here or there always helps, but the platform that he had and how successful Kareem was as a basketball player, and seeing what he's doing with those accomplishments and with his mediums and his channels and his connections, it just makes you feel good. I just wanted to touch on that. I didn't want to leave that out. We've cut a lot of stuff out of the show already. I did not want to cut that out. So,
when I was a younger boy, I used to think his name was Kareem Apple Jafar because I was a dumb kid, apparently. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a fantastic man doing fantastic things even after his playing career is done. Much like, rest in peace, Sir Ted Lindsay did.
exactly.
If you want to read our thoughts
Moment
about
of
him,
silence.
go to our social media platforms and read our stance on Ted Lindsay.
All right,
Moment's over.
on to some more nonsense. Top 6, baby. I love it. I love this. Matt can't find his list. He's like, oh no, where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Forgot to write it down.
You forgot to write it down?
No, I have it. I forgot to write it down.
Oh.
It's on my phone.
Oh, are you going to survive?
No, because I can't find it. I'll get there.
All right, I'll go first. I'll go first.
Just start it.
I will preface
Preface.
everything I do.
Preface.
Again, I made a huge list. I had to narrow it down. I have, at the end, I'll give you a couple close, but not quite.
So
mentions.
we picked our top 6 comedy movies,
Yes, we did. I'm glad you know.
and I'm a huge movie fan. And this was one of the hardest things I've ever tried to decipher. Was out of all the hundreds and maybe thousands of movies I watched in my life, which 6 funny movies are my favorites?
And we did, to make this somewhat easier, we did allow franchises to be listed as one movie.
Did not make it easier. Did not.
It didn't, but it helped me in some aspects.
Good. I'm happy for you.
So I'm glad it didn't help
I almost had an
don't like you.
aneurysm trying to figure this out. This is the most stressed I've endured in days.
I'm glad this
If
is the
not
most.
weeks.
I'm glad this is the most stress that you. That means you
It's
got a
supposed
good
to
life
be
going,
fun,
man.
though.
This is fun.
This is not supposed
It
to
is
be
fun.
stressful.
It is fun. Number 6. Number 6. The Meet the Parents franchise.
Oh man, those are good. Those are really good.
I had to come downstairs. I wrote down all my movies I liked here. Then I scrolled through the internet for an hour, and I asked Melanie what she thought of her funny movies. And number 6, the Meet the Parents franchise.
Number 6 for me, Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore is one of the greatest movies of all time. And it is one of the funniest movies of all time. Is that your number 1?
I'm not telling you what it is. I'm just shocked that it's your number 6.
Oh,
I
you
won't
wait.
tell you why.
You wait.
I'm interested for this list.
364 more days till next year's hockey trials.
Price is wrong, bitch. Who fights Bob Barker? Really? Who fights Bob Barker on a golf course?
Given the opportunity, I'd fight Bob Barker.
Yeah, I would too. Still waiting for Waffle House. Don't want to get in trouble. I'm not going to say his name. Andy Reid. Number 5.
Fight you, Andy Reid.
I might have to go get some training with good old Patches O'Houlihan.
Oh, great movie.
Dodgeball.
Great movie. Duck, dodge, dip,
Dip and
dive,
dive, dodge. As I made this list, I'm like, I need
Just
to watch
quoting.
all these movies.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't watched this movie in a couple months. I gotta go watch it again.
So I think our lists are going to go very separate directions. My number 5, Airplane.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Airplane with.
You're gonna go classic.
I love them, man.
No, I do too. I'm just.
It's surely you can't be serious. Well, I am, and don't call me Shirley. Leslie Nielsen. I honestly I couldn't pick which Leslie Nielsen movie I liked better.
How many did you pick?
Just that one. But they all would have fell into the 5/6 range for me.
Gotcha.
And
That's a
Airplane's better than Naked Gun.
Yeah.
I dare you to fight me on that, anybody.
I don't want to fight you. You're bigger than me.
I'm gonna fight Andy Reid though.
I do want to fight. He's not bigger than me.
Would you have? I beg to differ. He's a lot bigger than both of
Well,
us.
dude, I could just be like, "Here's the Waffle House menu," and I beat him up as he reads the Waffle House menu.
I bet you he goes in the back room of the Waffle House and greases himself up with some maple syrup and fights
I bet he bathes in maple syrup.
fights women in bikinis and maple syrup like Blue in Old School. Is that on your list?
Dude, it's an honorable mention though. That was a hard one. I wanted to put it on there.
You're my boy Blue.
Oh, that's a great movie. Number 4. We actually just watched this last time you were over. Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights.
I wake up in the morning, not piss excellence.
Shut up, Chip. Come at you like a spider monkey.
I'm all hyped up in Mountain Dew.
You're 5 pound, 9 ounce babies. Son, you know Jesus grew up, right?
I don't know. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Car ran really good today. I don't know what to do with my hands. Just put them by your side, Mr. Bobby.
That movie has got to be one of my favorite movies to quote of everything. Okay. That's all I got.
I love that movie. My number 3, Tommy Boy.
Oh, yes. Yes. Tommy Boy, you got Black Sheep on the list too?
Oh, it was so hard. It almost made the list. That was one of my honorable mentions.
That's another one we should put on there. Tommy Boy or Black Sheep? That should be a question of the podcast.
They're essentially the same movie.
Well, yeah, but how many actually like Black Sheep? Because I'm sure people do. But I think if he had to choose between the two, 99% of the population goes Tommy Boy.
Yeah, probably. I think Tommy Boy's is on TV more.
Yeah. And Chris Farley and stuff. Yeah.
Richard, what'd you do?
Fat guy. You know, whenever I hear everyone say fat guy in a little coat, I just think, oh, Matt must be putting on a coat again. Number 3.
Feel good about yourself, asshole?
Yeah, a little bit.
That was number 3.
No, that was number 4.
Oh, shoot. I skipped my number 4. That's okay. We'll pretend that's my number 4.
Number 3. That's why I cross them out so I don't forget when we go on tangents. Number 3, Caddyshack.
All right. So,
That's
fantastic
your number
movie.
4?
No, it's not. But it's got one of the same actors in it. Spies Like Us. Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd.
Yes. Dude, Chevy Chase movies, man, they hold up. He's probably one of the one actors that you can watch his movies for 100 years and they will still hold up 100% of the time.
Ever seen Fletch?
Oh, once a long time ago.
Fletch and Fletch 2, both on HBO right now.
I don't get HBO.
I borrow it. Okay. From a friend.
Hi, friend. Apparently you have it, so we're friends now.
I don't remember the login information. He came over one time and had him log in for me, and luckily I haven't had to log out.
Nice.
So
Nice. Number 2, the Grown Ups franchise. The end of the second movie, I will tell you, is absolutely ridiculous and absurd. But the first one's so funny, and the second one's got so many punchlines in it, too. It's hilarious. I love Adam Sandler, as you will find out here shortly. The Grown Ups franchise.
all right, very funny, but not as funny as Dumb and Dumber.
That's a good one, too.
Dumb and Dumber is the movie that I quote more than any other movie. It makes my wife very upset how often I quote this movie. I was trying to get her to guess my top 6 favorites, and she got to the top 2. I just
Did she?
started rolling off quotes, and she couldn't remember what they were. I was like, how do you not remember this? I quote this movie literally all the time.
You know, you would think I would like... I should have put Dumb and Dumber. But my reason would not be because it's the most funny, but it'd be because of Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels, fantastic actor from Detroit, Michigan, if I'm not mistaken.
You know what else he is?
He is a hockey player.
He is a CMU Chippewa alumni.
Oh.
Fire up chips! Woo!
Yeah.
He a chip. Word.
He plays celebrity hockey games quite often
Yes.
with and against the Red Wings.
He's got it's the Hart Theater down in Chelsea?
I can't remember what it's
I
called.
can't remember what it's called either.
I like him in his really all his roles.
Yeah.
His serious roles he does
Purple
well.
Rose.
Purple Rose. Very similar to the heart. It's located in the same vicinity of the body.
Now you know. Number 1, Happy Gilmore. That is my all-time favorite movie across the board. I'll watch that movie every day. I don't care. I will always laugh. It's hilarious. It's fantastic. You're an idiot for not putting it number 1.
No, you're an idiot for not even including this movie on your list. Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Ooh. I didn't even think about that.
Greatest movie of all time.
Oh, you got
They're like the rest of the series is okay. Monty Python and the Holy Grail is the best one by far. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that movie at all.
it. It holds up.
It is purely perfect. Much like my lovely wife and beautiful daughter.
What? Someone's sucking up.
Just in case she's still listening. Be home soon, sweetie. Love you.
I think she is.
All right. Oh, she is, because her number 1, which is a fantastic movie, and it was a honorable mention for me, Clue.
I've never seen it.
What? You've never seen Clue?
No. Isn't it a game?
Yeah, this is a movie based on the game, and it is hilarious. It is one of the funniest movies ever made. You need to watch it. Next time you're
Okay.
suffering from insomnia, find Clue.
I do that often.
So tonight at like midnight, find
I'll be
Clue.
asleep. Hey, we got t-shirts. Check them out.
They're sweet.
Sweet.
Mine's not done yet because I was irresponsible in getting my T-shirt.
No, I ran out of vinyl then too.
Oh,
I had no vinyl phone.
I was blaming myself, but all right.
Yeah, I'll take it. Subscribe, rate, listen, Apple Podcasts. Give us a review. We have not gotten any reviews last week. Give us a review. We will read it on air. You can always reach us. Email, mattmuse@gmail.com. Call or text 989-372-1391. If there's anything you guys want to talk about, if anything you want us to cover, I don't care what topic it is. It can be literally a segment about the movie Clue. It will make me watch it. I don't care. We can talk about it.
You should watch it without a segment about the movie. But yeah, we would talk about it. We would have a movie discussion over Clue. We would bring Shayna on as a special guest.
Exactly. We'll bring you on as a special guest. I don't even know who you are, but you want to come on and talk? Let's
It
talk.
could be you. And I do want to say real quick, I appreciate all the work you do for this show. You do an awesome job.
Thanks. You too.
Well, we know. So keep it up, man.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Without you, this show would be a disaster of me sitting in the corner of a room talking to myself, which, believe it or not, does not lead to very many follows and views. And
See, we're at episode 31. You probably would have made it to episode half.
yeah, like I would have recorded it, but not like on anything. Just sort of remembered everything in my head. Maybe wrote most of it down. Taking it to the library, try to type it up, but I don't have a library card anymore, so I wouldn't be able to print it off. So it would be just lost in cyberspace somewhere, and it would be a disaster. So I would give up. I would turn to begging for money out in front of the library, like your average homeless person does, and turn the library into my house. So thank you for keeping a roof over my head.
If that 10 cents keeps a roof over your head, I'm happy it helps.
You'd be surprised what I could do with 10 cents.
MadMuse.com. Everything you need. We'll be back on Monday.
See ya.
Thank God that's over.